This podcast is proudly brought to you by Paul's Strength Book, an app for everyone. For less than $2 a day, you can have full access to weight training programs, nutrition, recipes, macro calculators, video library, and you can also track all of your metrics including weight, measurements, strength, and performance. Search for Paul's Strength Book in all good app stores now. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Paul's Body Engineering Podcast. Today I have a very special guest. Lisa Blackburn is now the current Australian promoter of OCB, which is another natural bodybuilding federation. And the point of difference here, which we will talk about in the podcast itself, is their testing policy. But more so, it is going to be another opportunity for Australian athletes to compete with a launching pad to get into the States and compete overseas. So I'm very excited to chat to Lisa about what OCB brings, who they are, and the opportunities that athletes have. So without further ado, let's get on with the podcast. All right, Lisa Blackburn, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for asking me on here.
No problem. No, look, we're just talking off air. I thought I'd get in early because I'm sure, as I mentioned, you're probably going to get inundated with requests to do some form of media or marketing or something, given the fact that you're bringing OCB to Australia. So it's pretty exciting, right?
Oh, very exciting. Yes. I guess I was just saying to you, it wasn't something I was expecting to be doing, but just the opportunities come up, and I'm just really excited to be providing more opportunities for Australian athletes, not just to compete in Australia, but hopefully to, go overseas and compete with others as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. Like I just said to you, we certainly have a lot of choice over here, but when you open up the big wide world, there's even more opportunity. So for a pathway to be opened to get to the States or maybe even some other countries, that's pretty cool. But do you want to take us back? Because I've been following your career for a while. Not that that's a weird thing, but obviously I've seen you at shows. I've watched you compete.
Yeah.
I think I've even competed at similar shows to you over numerous years. But take us back to the commencement of your bodybuilding career and sort of how it's evolved over the years, and then obviously talk about your recent OCB experience.
Sure. So I've been bodybuilding for 5 years. So to end of 2018. And I was one of those people that coaches probably tell you not what to do. So I was in a very difficult time of my life. At the time, I was actually doing Muay Thai. I used to be a fighter.
Okay.
But yeah, very difficult time of my life. And then I saw these advertisements for bodybuilding. And so I had no idea about it. Never been to a show other than, like the Arnold Schwarzeneggers and other greats, like, that kind of stuff. But
Sure.
Never been to a show myself. Didn't know what was involved. But I love challenges. And I just knew from reading like around the diet and the exercise at that time of my life, I needed some structure in that way. Because with the martial arts, I was probably training 4 to 6 hours a day, not eating very well, not sleeping, super stressed, right? Yeah. So 13 weeks out from a competition, I jumped on board with a coach and worked towards bikini. So yes, one of those people that, didn't know anything, just jumped on in, started weight training the same time I started comp prep, all the things that you're told not to do, right? But mindset-wise, I love challenges, and it was just something I needed. So, and I loved it. I loved the routine. I loved the discipline. And when I got stage, I just was like, you know what? I feel at home. Like, it was just such a fantastic experience. And I had started out going to do one, and I ended up doing, I think, 6 or 7 comps that first season. Yeah. So I started in bikini and then finished in like fitness model, sports model, because I was so lean.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and then that just kind of kept rolling. I just loved it so much. So then I did 4 seasons back to back
Whoa.
Um, yeah, and like the second season, because I was so lean and got really good conditioning, that's when I won Fitness Rookie of the Year with ICN, and then I jumped up and decided to give figure and physique a go, and I got my physique pro card with INBA then, and then decided to do Natural Olympia that year in Vegas, and got second at the pro in my first pro international show there.
Nice.
So it was very much a whirlwind. Yeah, I've done 27 shows now
Wow.
over the 5 years. And like done every single category except for wellness, because
Yep.
obviously wellness is a very asymmetrical
Yes.
shape, and my upper body probably outdoes my lower body. Yeah, so I've had experience across all the divisions. I've pretty much done the majority of natural feds here in Australia. And then yeah, just recently I only did one competition in Australia, the rest were overseas. So I did
Mhm.
New Zealand, and then I did 2 trips to the United States, which included OCB. So, yeah, and the reason for doing that, I guess, I just got to a stage that, I don't know, the last couple of years I kind of felt a little bit lost.
Yep.
Um, I was doing women's physique, but then I'm also a very small person, as in size wise, compared to the other girls I'm on stage with. And I was just kind of not having confidence in myself if that was the right division or whatever for me. So I decided to go back and compete as an amateur in some different federations this year, and just, get a feel and what felt right for me again. And also I'm looking at spending some extra time in the States, because my partner lives over there. So yeah, so decided to give OCB a crack because I'd been following them for a while, and I
Mhm.
just love the fact that they've got shows like every weekend of the year. There's a show somewhere,
Yep.
right? Amateur or pro. Like there's a whole lot of pro shows throughout the year. They have a huge pro world championships with the Yorton Cup, and I was just like, oh well, like it just looked amazing, right? So I thought I'm going to go over and have a go. Um, and with that, I took a bit of a chance because they've got minimum requirements for pro qualifications and things like that. Like you got to have a certain number of people. So
Yep.
you just kind of don't know until I was going to show up.
Yep.
But yeah, I managed to pro qualify in women's physique, and then that qualified me the week after for the Yorton Cup, which is their pro world championship. So
Absolutely.
I decided just to go and do it. And yeah, it was amazing. So it was the biggest. So there was 24 women's physique
Wow.
girls, pro physique girls.
I
So
don't see that in Australia.
no, so we got split into 4 classes. So
Okay.
4 classes, going on height, and
Yep.
then the top 3 of each class and go through to an overall. So yeah, so I placed fourth in my class, which, was pretty
Amazing.
happy with that. So,
Yeah.
and just the whole experience, was great. Like just from me, their first contact I had with them, I contacted them through Instagram because I didn't know anyone who had done OCB or,
Yep.
knew much about it. So I thought they were thinking, oh, who's this crazy Australian person sending all these messages? But, it was just, they were quick to get back to me. Nothing was like a silly question. Um, like just, yeah, nothing seemed, out of place. And then when I turned up there, like the amateur show I did in Norfolk, so that was the Apex show, and it was a pro-am. So the pros were competing before our show. When the pros came off stage, like they found out I was from Australia, and they were just like, and I was doing I was doing physique, and just all the girls were like, oh, you're going to be up there with us soon, and like just everyone was just so supportive.
Mm.
Like I traveled with no one because Brandon's my coach, so he was online.
Yep.
I was over there by myself. I was on the east side of America, which I had never been to before, so everything was completely new, but I kind of felt at home. And when I was on the stage, and not just me, but the other competitors, like the whole crowd was just cheering, like for everybody. And
That's
I've just not experienced that, I guess, in that kind of way. Um, and it was just pretty amazing. So, and then even going on to the Yorton Cup, like same thing, like, just the community in the sense you can just tell how everyone loves natural bodybuilding, how supportive they are of each other. yeah, so it was just a fantastic experience.
Unreal. That's very cool. Talk to me briefly about the Autumn Cup, because I have heard of it, and have seen, multiple photos and videos and stuff, but it effectively it's just lesser known over here in Australia, right? But it's effectively the equivalent of, say, WNBF Worlds or Natural Olympia on the same scale, yeah?
Yeah, but so, well, the difference is it's only pro athletes.
Okay.
So it is, you have to be a pro and you
Yep.
have to qualify.
Right.
So the way you can qualify is if you achieve your pro status in the same year of the Yorton Cup,
Mm-hmm.
um, then you automatically qualify. If you are already a pro, like, you got your pro card last year,
Yep.
then for future Yorton Cups, you have to do a pro qualifying show and you have to place.
Right.
You have to place a certain, and I'm still like learning all that, but depending on the show and the division, like whether it's top three or top five and how many classes there are,
Okay.
you have to place to then be eligible for the Yorton Cup.
Yep.
So this year, 2023, they had 208 professional athletes.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. It was held on one day this year. Next year they're going to 2 days because
Okay.
it's getting so big.
Yep.
So men will be on the Saturday and the women's categories will be on the Sunday. Um, yeah. So it's only a professional show.
Right. Wow.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
That's very cool. So
Yeah.
obviously, with the opportunity that you're providing for Australians, that is a pathway potentially. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So obviously next year will be our first show, and anyone, if they do receive pro qualification, they will be eligible to go straight to the Yorton Cup in
Unreal.
2024.
So when you
Um,
say pro qualification, what does that mean? Do they are they a pro, or do they just qualify for this pro event? Is there a difference?
well, I mean, obviously it's like anything. If you get a pro qualification, then you have to compete as pro,
Okay.
right? So you can accept it or not.
Yep.
So once you compete as a pro, then you're a pro.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
We do have, so OCB do have minimum requirements
Hmm.
for pro qualification in that, and it depends on the division. So, for example, women's physique, you need a minimum of 3 athletes in your class for a pro qualification to be offered. So,
Okay.
yeah, if you're the only one, they're not going to offer you a
Yes.
pro
Yes. Of
qualification.
course.
Yeah,
No, I understand
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So talk to me about OCB. Because obviously plenty of people probably didn't even know who they were until you started posting about them, right? Or competed with them. So,
Yeah.
who are they and what's their point of difference? Why would a natural athlete want to compete with them over somebody else or just go to the show and compete?
Yeah. So first of all, OCB stands for Organisation of Competition Bodies, if you're
Okay.
wondering what the acronym stands for.
Yep.
I think at this moment they are the largest natural bodybuilding organisation in the USA with regards to the number of shows and the amount of athletes that
Right.
competing with them. Um, Point of difference, I guess, if we look within Australia, they will now be the second only fully tested natural federation because obviously we have WNBF,
Hmm.
so which means all athletes will be polygraphed before they can go on stage.
Yep.
They have to pass polygraph. All winners will be urine tested, and we also randomly test outside of competition
Okay.
as well.
Fantastic.
And usually too with the polygraph, like when I was in the States, so I had to do the polygraph for my amateur show. I had to do a second polygraph going to the pro show.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Okay.
so if you're going to compete as pro, you need to do another polygraph. So even though they were a week apart, I
Yep.
still had to do a second poly.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a difference here for Australia. The other thing is once you become pro, that prize money is offered at all pro shows,
Oh,
and
wow.
it is
Okay.
the same amount at every pro show. It is consistent.
Yeah, okay. Oh,
So regardless of where you compete as a pro and regardless of the numbers,
yep.
that prize money is consistent. So you can be assured that when you compete as a pro, that is offered there.
That's really good because a
Um,
lot of pro shows don't, or it's inconsistent in terms of prize money, or it doesn't
yeah,
exist. Yes, okay,
yeah,
that's good.
or you don't even know, right? Like
Yeah,
you kind of just go like, is there money or is there something or
yeah,
what am I competing for? So no, that's consistent.
fantastic.
at any show you do. The other thing that's probably different, and when you, so we don't have crossovers,
Okay.
meaning, so we have 7 categories: bikini, wellness, figure, women's physique, men's physique, classic physique, and bodybuilding.
Right.
You have to compete in the category that you best fit.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only compete in the one category at that one show. So if you want to do figure, you can't also do women's physique. You have to choose one.
Okay. Yep.
But you can do multiple. So we will have novice, masters, and opens within that category. So if you meet criteria for all those 3, then you can do that.
Okay. Very good.
So that's probably a difference as well for Australia. And when you do receive pro qualification, the other difference is once you are pro, and as long as you abide by your drug testing, so stay natural, we allow you to continue to compete with other federations as an amateur or a pro.
Fantastic.
So we do not stop you from competing anywhere else. And that was actually, I think OCB made that change a couple of years ago, and that was based on athlete feedback.
Right.
In that they had athletes who, obviously depending where they live, if they're like me, they love to compete a lot and want to do multiple shows. And sometimes, you just can't do, especially in Australia, like, you can't, if you want to do multiple shows, you have to compete across federations.
You do.
Like,
that's exactly right.
But if you start putting restrictions in place that you can't, to keep your pro qualification, you can't compete. Well, especially in places in Australia, you're going to be limited to maybe 1 show a year.
That's right.
So, so they took athlete feedback on that, and we don't stop you from competing as long as you stay natural. Then we're happy with that.
Fantastic. That's cool. That's good. That's very good.
Yeah.
Like
and the other thing is probably once you do get pro qualification is you can also, as long as you meet the criteria. So, for example, I'm pro physique.
Mm-hmm.
However, if, for example, I decide I don't want to get so conditioned and I prefer to do figure, I can compete as pro figure.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but I can only, so once again, I can only compete in that show in that one category.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it certainly sounds like there's a lot of opportunity there for competitors for all body types, all levels. And, not only competing with OCB, but as you said, you can also compete. You're still able and eligible to compete with other federations, particularly if there's opportunities to do so. That's really cool. So in regards to, now you can obviously speak from experience here, in regards to the athlete and coaching experience, what's it like backstage? How's the show run? And obviously, you'll be running your own show in Ipswich. So what can athletes and coaches expect in regards to that experience? Is it going to be really based on obviously USA format? Is it going to be really well organized, run to, sort of 10-minute blocks? Like how is it all going to work?
Yeah. Well, we hope it's going to be really organized.
Fingers crossed.
So I'm still learning in the progress test as
well.
But I guess from my experience, I would say it is the 2 shows that I've had. So I've done 27. They're the only 2 shows that have exactly run to time.
Oh, right.
27 shows.
Yep. That's good stuff.
So that for one was a very obvious thing I noticed. Because I know when I was planning.
Did you feel rushed in that situation at all?
Yes. It was bizarre because I was obviously going back and forth with Brandon about my food and timing, and because I'm so used to maybe this, we have to allocate this amount for divisions and probably, and then I was like, they're actually running on time and it's happening now. So it was a very different experience in that way, because it was just everything was just boom, 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 boom. The backstage people were just everyone was in order, everyone knew what to do. It just flowed. And I was like, wow, this is okay. So, so that was a little bit different, but it was great.
Yep.
So not waiting around for too long, I
guess that's a good thing, right? Because I guess bodybuilding shows, and obviously you've had multiple experiences, do tend to run late, and that's just an exception that athletes make.
Yeah.
We understand that it's a complex mechanism that they have to try and coordinate, but to be on time is probably something that you wouldn't expect, but it's a blessing in disguise at the same time.
Yeah, like it's like even the Yorton Cup, as I said, they had 208 professional
Mm.
athletes, and yeah, like it just like I was on there at the time they said I would be on, like
So you can
that
really
was how
plan
it
because
was.
obviously meal timing is very important. So that
Yeah.
enables you to plan really, really well.
So in that way it was great. And it just also meant for spectators as well. Like,
Yes.
there's spectators, I guess, because that's what they expect. They know, okay, yep, we're going to be on around this time and I can come at this time and, not be waiting around because it's really important for spectators as well, when you've got family
Awesome.
members and stuff like, because they're also waiting as well.
Yes.
So that was, yeah, so that was definitely a difference. Other things I noted is just how they, obviously they'll usually put the category on first, do your comparisons, that group will come off, bring the next group on, and while that's happening, the scores are being tabulated,
Okay.
and then they'll bring you on for your presentation. So there's none of this kind of competitors waiting on stage, waiting for things to be tabulated,
Mm-hmm.
which helps with the timing, obviously.
Of course.
They've actually got someone in the background doing that while they're still judging the next category, and then, bring you on for your individual presentation. So that was really great. Like no one missed out on the individual presentation, because they weren't running behind on time. So everyone got the opportunity to do what their stage time. Um, Obviously comparisons were done well and they could, give the amount of time appropriately because then the scoring was done, while the other group was coming on. So that all just flowed really nicely.
Did you feel
Um,
you had adequate stage time? Like you felt comfortable, you weren't rushed? No, plenty of time
no,
to get into your poses and everything like that.
yeah, yeah,
Unreal.
no, it's
Yeah,
good.
cool.
Yeah.
What
Um,
about the judging process? Now I know you're probably not too familiar with this at this point, but were there multiple judges per show? Were they behind computers? Were they completely separated? What was their intercommunication between them from what you saw?
Yeah, so once again, OCB tries to keep everything as consistent as possible across shows. So, and which is great 'cause it means as an athlete, regardless of what show you go to, you can
Yep.
expect that it's going to be very similar.
Yes.
Um, you know, so at amateur shows, usually there should be a minimum of 5 judges
Okay.
at the table.
Yep.
At pros, there's 7.
Well, wow.
And they will have a head judge who sits in the center and he will do the calling, like for the turns and things like that.
Mhm.
I do know with judging, so a lot of people, if you're watching a show and people get moved to the middle and you're like, oh yes, they're going to be the winner because they're in
Mm.
the middle. OCB won't do that.
Ah, okay.
So they will kind of make a statement. So if you're watching any of their stuff online, they will say, just because you're not in the middle the whole time doesn't mean you haven't done well, because they will purposely move people to make sure the judges at each end of the table are getting a good look and they can do the
Of course.
comparisons appropriately. So, but they won't always necessarily put the top 3 in the middle of the,
Okay.
you know, yeah. So just something to be aware of.
Yep.
If they want to make sure that they are comparing everyone appropriately and all judges are getting a view of that. Judges have to go through a certification process,
Yep.
to once again ensure consistency as much as possible, which involves, so obviously looking through the criteria. Then there's like some time with the head judge who will take you through what OCB criteria is, what they're specifically looking for, and you also have to do an exam
Yep.
with that, which is great, and then they do that I think on a yearly basis,
Okay.
from that. And people who do the certification, they usually like you to at least have, if you're in the States, be a pro athlete with at
Okay.
least 3 years of bodybuilding competitive experience. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different here because I'm the only OCB pro athlete at the moment. So, which is fine. But yeah, all the judges for OCB Australia will be going through the same certification
Hmm.
process. And hopefully we will have a number of US judges coming out to support
That's
the show.
exciting. Yeah,
Yeah, which will be really great.
absolutely. Can show what us Aussies are made of, hey?
Yeah, that's right.
Unreal. So you've announced recently, obviously it's going to be Ipswich, your
Yes.
hometown. The show is surprisingly early in the season. Now, I think
Hmm.
from memory and your statement, that's to line up with the USA. Is that correct?
Yeah, so a couple of reasons.
Yep.
Obviously, the Yorton Cup is in September. So in 2024, it is on the 21st and 22nd of September.
Hmm.
So I guess we wanted to give Australian athletes for our first show the opportunity, if they wanted to be able to go to the Yorton Cup
Okay.
next year.
Yep.
Um, Hence why we've held it earlier. Obviously, it then had to do with venue availability.
Of course.
And I was very mindful, once again, being a competitor myself and someone who loves to compete in multiple shows, I didn't want to conflict with other
Yes.
federations,
Well done.
which I know always is a topic of
It's
conversation every
always a concern and
season.
an issue. Yes.
So, I didn't, I wanted it to be as this is another opportunity,
Yep.
not do ours instead of somebody else's,
Sure.
because I'm not about that. It's
Yep.
about building the community and giving opportunity. So hence why it is a little bit earlier. But in saying that, you'll see ICN is now doing an all-female classic in July,
Yep.
and IFBB are also doing a third season earlier as well. So
Yep.
it's and INBA New Zealand have a show the week before ours on the 17th. So there are other shows now
Mhm.
around a similar time. And I guess it's also just to go outside the box a little bit. And because, Australia is we have seasons,
Yes.
whereas in the States and I think even the UK, like people compete all year round.
Yep. India's the same. It's just all year
Yeah,
round. Yeah.
it's just how it is. So I'm just like, you know what? We're just going to put it there and then see how we go. And just
Absolutely.
hopefully people will start to go, oh, we don't have to only compete in September and October
Mm.
or, April and May. Like we can actually, spread it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there was a few reasons behind it, but
Okay. Talk to me about the venue because I've done venue scouting for various feds in the past, and it can be quite challenging to find something to suit bodybuilding because obviously it's quite unique in the way it's run and organised. You need backstage area,
yeah,
pump up area, all that sort of stuff. So, is it the Ipswich Civic Centre?
Civic Centre.
Civic Centre, yeah. So, what can the athletes expect from that particular venue? Is there plenty of space for them? Obviously,
Yeah,
auditorium, all that sort of stuff.
yeah. Yeah, so I guess first of all is the reason we're doing Ipswich is because it is my local town and I'm really big on supporting local business. And Ipswich itself has a strong sporting history
Does very
and
much
we
so.
actually have a great number of bodybuilding athletes out here. So
Yep,
I just really wanted to give back to community and support the community that supports me. So that was the
absolutely.
reason I wanted to do it here.
Yep,
Yeah, so Ipswich Civic Centre, yes, we will have access to the entire building.
nice.
So obviously upstairs we have the auditorium section, which it's already got its own stage and lighting. And then we will have theatre seating. Likely we will raise the theatre seating. So you'll have the
Okay,
judges at the front and the spectators behind. That also allows for at the back, we will have like store holders and stuff at the back. We've got the balcony section, which we're going to use for sponsors and judges. There'll be like a breakout area for food and stuff like that as
okay,
well. We've got downstairs. So in the downstairs section, there's another whole room that will be the prep area for athletes. So that's where the tanning, hair, makeup, warm up area will be. So we'll have weights, mirrors, all that downstairs. That also opens out to an outdoor car park. So if athletes need to use outside, they can.
okay. Yep,
So that's downstairs. Yep. And then all the other stuff is upstairs. And then we've got the wings that will lead into the auditorium. So what will happen is from the prep area, when you're just about to get on the stage, we'll take that group into the wings ready to go
unreal.
onto the stage from there. So yeah.
Sounds like you've done a lot of thinking about this.
Oh, I'm trying. Yeah.
Just as a complete side note here, how is your mind in regards to taking this on and because it's a beast, right, to try and run a bodybuilding show. I know firsthand. So
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it so far? Obviously, you've still got, just under a year to go, but
Yeah.
there must be moments where you're going, oh my God, this is full on.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, well, as I said at the start, it's never something like I've never had in my brain, oh, I'm going to become a show promoter.
Sure.
It just kind of organically happened from me competing over there, having conversations, and then they approached me, and I was still in comp prep, like I was still competing at the time we had
Right.
this meeting, and I was like, oh, yep, awesome. I'd love to bring it here because, I want to give back. I want to build our community here in Australia.
Yep.
And then I was like, because I was still in comp prep, I'm like, what am I doing? And I was just like,
Irrational decision making while
yeah,
hungry.
yeah. But then I obviously had to get through my comp. So
Of course.
was still focusing on that. So I didn't really do a lot for a month or so because I'm like, I've got to finish my competitions and stick
Yep.
to this. And then as soon as my comp was over, I was like, right, I need to, organize this, this, and this. I need a date. We need venue, like just trying to have everything in concrete. And I don't know, I haven't really stopped too much and think about it. I've kind of just like,
Yep.
we need to make it happen and make sure it's going. And I know it's August, but it's going to come really, really quickly.
Oh, 100% it will. Yeah.
And obviously for a show to happen, you need athletes.
Yes.
So, and I guess my challenge is OCB is new, no one really knows about it. Um, so to try and get it out there in the first place, it is an earlier show. So I was like, because we are in Australia and we do seasons, I'm like, well, I need to let people know if
Mm,
you're prepping, because they're all going to start prepping like December, January for some people.
correct.
There's going to be a show at the end of August that you might want to come to. So, like, yeah, I've just had to kind of keep going and jump onto things as much as I can and just put it out there and get support. So, I'm doing okay. I think it's exciting for me. I think I'm just keen to be giving back,
Yep.
and still stay involved because I'm not competing next year, but it's, I'm kind of, yeah, really excited that I can still be involved in the community in a different way.
Absolutely. And how has
Yeah.
it been received? What's the feedback been like so far at this early stage? Has there been a lot of positive feedback, a lot of commentary around the fact that there's another opportunity for people?
Yeah, look, I think on a whole, it's been really good. So
Yep.
I've had people message me, because initially I was thinking, I'm like, oh no, people are like, oh, here's another federation, here's another one. But no, it's been great. I think because yes, we are tested. I think the fact that, I'm holding it in Ipswich, like just in my general community, like, people I train with and stuff like that are really excited. Um, just yeah, on a whole, it's been great. And as I said, to me, I mean, yes, it is another federation, it is another show. But as I said, I think in Australia, like if you love to compete, you need to compete across federations, and
Yes, I agree.
you know, it's just providing more opportunity, and people fit different things, right? Like you, people like different things because of what their goals are or whatever. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Absolutely, 100%. So, in regards to the show, it's obviously going to be only amateur at this stage.
yeah,
What's your vision for this particular federation moving forward? What does it look like in, say, 5 years, do you think, if all goes
yeah.
well?
So my big vision is A, I would love to be able to sponsor and support pro athletes over to the Yorton Cup, as
Wow.
in, and I mean as in like provide monetary kind of
Hmm.
support, because
Yep.
I know how expensive it is, and that's what stops a lot of people from competing,
Of
right?
course.
Because
Yeah.
being on the other side of the world, it's not easy. So that's one thing I would really love to be able to consistently do.
Hmm.
Um, Definitely become a pro show. So, I've got people I competed with in the States now are like, once it's a pro show, we're going to come over,
How good.
and really just to start that international kind of flavor to it as well. So opening it up, bringing more athletes out here. And then obviously, being able to provide more shows.
Mhm.
So, we've got this one show, we'll see how we go. And then, go from there, I guess. But
Do you see it being nationwide, like most major cities, sort of thing? Is that the intention or ambition, I suppose?
yeah, I think that would be the ambition, right?
Yep,
So, but obviously we, we want to make sure it's good quality and you've got the numbers and stuff as
of
well. We just
course.
don't want to be putting shows for the sake of having a
No,
show.
no, no, no,
Like,
no. No.
yeah, you still want it to be a great athlete and competitive experience at the same time.
Yep.
So, but yeah, definitely if we can reach other states from that perspective would be great. And yeah, and bringing in the pro side of things, which is going to take time to develop,
Of
obviously,
course.
because you need
Yep.
to you
Yeah,
need
of
to get
course.
pro athletes to do that.
Yep.
But yeah, that's definitely the goal. So,
Unreal. Well, that's exciting. That's very exciting. So you obviously with one of your initial posts, you put a call out for judges, photographer, staff. I can't even remember what else. How are you going with all of that? And obviously this platform will probably open up a new audience. So are there still people
yeah,
you're looking for, or expressions of interest that you are seeking for? Other people that can help get involved.
yeah, of course, yeah. So, judges. So I've had a great response for judges. I think currently I've got 9. But still happy, like if there's anyone who is, an athlete or a coach or has some great experience in bodybuilding and has been thinking about judging and would like to undergo the certification process, please get in contact with me. We will be starting that in January. And, I don't think we can ever have enough judges because, especially in Australia, as you know, small community,
Yep.
a lot of coaches who are judges will also have clients in the competition. And for fairness, we want to make sure that we don't have coaches sitting on the panel
Yep.
judging their own clients. So we want to make sure we have a good depth of judges in order in case of, clients or sickness, or, make sure judges have breaks because it's judges' experience on the day as well. Like I've sat at a judging table where you haven't had breaks for food and all that kind of
Yep.
stuff. And we want to make sure we look after our judges as well. So yeah, judges definitely keen for. We've got a Tanner organized,
Oh,
ready to
good.
go. We'll be releasing that soon on that. I have a couple of photographers that I'm in communication with and looking in different things for that. So I do have that happening in the background at the moment. Same with hair and makeup. So all those main things are kind of happening, conversation.
Excellent. Yep.
What we would really appreciate is obviously if anyone would like to help sponsor or provide, services in other ways. So either from monetary, athlete sponsorship, if there's other services they can help with, please reach out and get in contact with me. That would be great. Anyone who wants hands on deck. So I've had a number of people contact me already who are happy to assist on show day, which is
Fantastic.
awesome.
Yep.
So looking for people who are backstage, expediters, help with setting up, clean up, just help run things smoothly. So just if you want to be involved in any way, you don't have to be a bodybuilder either. You just have to have a love for it. You might have event experience. I would love to hear from you. So just get in contact with me. Anyone who wants to help kind of marketing wise, we'll have shirts be coming out soon. So if you want a shirt to like wear around and stuff like that, like just get in contact with me if you want to help in any way. That'd be great.
Unreal. Well, look, the shows don't get run without the volunteers, the backstage staff, the
That's
trophy
right.
people, so all that sort of stuff. It's kind of, you don't see it, but it's there, and it doesn't happen without them. So yeah, if you're listening and would like to be involved, contact Lisa, of course. Well, we're pretty much at the end. I don't really have anything else I want to ask. Like you've covered everything so well, and it's really exciting to see another natural fed come out to Australia that obviously provides a platform to the states for starters, but also is so thorough with its testing to ensure that athletes that compete are in fact natural.
Yeah.
So obviously you mentioned the future plans or the potential to have multiple shows here in Australia. For this first one, with the opportunity to compete beyond the first show into America, is that going to be the pathway moving forward all the time? It'll be specific about the date, the timing, so that athletes have an opportunity to head overseas. And I guess on a completely separate question, does OCB have ambitions to maybe explore Europe or Asia or South America or anything like that as well as further opportunity for potential Australian athletes?
Yes. All I would say, because it hasn't come out yet, that is definitely in the plans.
Okay.
So there will probably be more information coming out soon with
Okay.
regards to that.
Fantastic.
Yes. With regards to the worldwide thing, yes.
Sure.
So keep an eye out for that. Follow OCB's main page, and they will keep you up to date. Yes, date wise, we will probably always be looking at having this main show in August, just because Yorton Cup is always in September.
Yep.
So for anyone who receives pro qualification at our show, it just gives them a direct pathway to that. Obviously, if you get pro qualification this year, following years, if you want to compete at Yorton, you will need to do a pro qualifying, a pro show first, and place for the Yorton. So that's where it will get a little bit tricky in the next couple of years, just because we're still building up our pros. So it might mean you might need to travel a bit earlier to the States, do your pro show, and then hopefully you know, blitz the floor, so you'll be at the Yorton Cup. Yeah. So, but that's what we're here. We're happy to answer questions, happy to try and support athletes, and we can have those discussions with them about appropriate shows to look at and stuff to help make those pathways happen. So
outstanding. That is so cool. So to follow, obviously you've created an OCB Instagram page. What is that?
So OCB Australia.
Excellent. And obviously follow the international one, which is it OCB official?
Official, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And obviously give yourself a plug.
Oh, yes, yeah. So Lisa Blackburn official.
Excellent. All right, cool. So that's how the primary source of contact is through the Instagram page at this point in time. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I do have an email, but I prefer, it's just easy, it's quicker for me if you go through the Instagram page. I'll get to you, pretty quickly. It's probably the best way. If it requires more in-depth conversation, then I can pass on my email from there. I will be putting the email on the Instagram page soon. I'm still, as you can see, just,
one step at a time,
working through things. But yeah, definitely, either my personal page or the OCB Australia page one is fine.
Fantastic. Great. Unreal. Well, I'll wrap it up, but thank you very much, Lisa. I appreciate your time on I'm assuming a busy Friday morning. But it's really cool to have another opportunity for athletes. Speaking personally, having competed multiple times over multiple years, just another experience, another opportunity, and another pathway to potentially international competition too is something that is really exciting. So I'm sure that there's going to be a bigger buzz and a bigger build up over the next, what's it now, 10 months?
I'm trying not to think about the time.
Sorry to freak you out there.
I know. I'm just like, it's like when you do prep, right? It's like it seems so long, like you're in off season so long, and then you start, and then you're like, oh my gosh, we're here.
Well, you're in prep now for your first show.
I know. Well, it is. It's definitely. It feels a bit like prep. It's a little bit scary, a bit unknown. Learning things as we go away, change is happening, but it's great though. But that's what we live for, right?
It is. Yes. Absolutely, love the sport. Absolutely. Well, I sort of threw you under the bus late last night with my final question, which I completely forgot to send to you. Full disclosure. But as I ask every guest, who would you have for dinner? This is more of a personality question, so it can be a life bed, fictional, non-fictional, multiple people if you want.
All right, I had a bit of a thought, so I've chosen 3.
Cool.
Okay, first one would be Michael Jordan.
Nice.
Now, Michael Jordan is my childhood idol hero. So I used to play basketball when I was a kid. That was my sport, and that's what I played at a high level and stuff. So he was just a person. And I grew up in a rural town. In the 80s, we had 2 TV channels that eventually went to 4. And I just think, he was kind of one of the first sports people that became the brand, right? People wanted to work with him because of who he was. And to do that in an age where we didn't have social media.
Yeah, very good point.
And for someone like me in a rural town to know who Michael Jordan was and just be like, you are amazing.
Yep.
to see what he continues to do, like build his brand, support other athletes, just continue to challenge himself outside of basketball.
Yep.
Like that just really inspires me. So definitely him.
Okay.
Then I've got Dolly Parton.
Hey, okay, there's a very change of pace.
77 and she looks amazing, right? Yeah. Still singing, moving around on stage. Like, I am just inspired by any older person, and especially older woman, who can continue to do that. Like, even like, I've got a lot of good friends, bodybuilders, who are in their 50s and 60s, and I just think that's amazing, right? So, but also just what she gives, like, so I can kind of relate to her. Like, she was one of 12 kids, like I'm one of 6.
Okay.
Her dad was a farmer. And once again, just giving back to, she's got her imagination library, giving back to children and stuff like that. Like, that just really, I love that.
Absolutely.
And then I've got J.K. Rowling. And once again, this is probably because just because I have, once again, probably similar experiences. So, when she wrote Harry Potter, her mother had passed away, got divorced and not in a great financial situation. And I just look, in my, I was kind of 6 years ago, similar thing, right? Like, went through a divorce. Obviously that affected financially where I was. My dad passed away, and just to see that she then wrote these amazing novels from that as an older, middle-aged woman as well, just to show that your age doesn't matter, and what happens to you doesn't matter. Like, you can continue to change your life and change your story. So they're probably 3 people that would be great to speak more to.
That would be a very interesting dinner conversation. I don't even know where you would start with that, but I tell you what, geez, it'd be fun.
Well, I think, it'd be, I think it'd be awesome. So
absolutely. A dinner, a singer, an athlete, and a writer. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Hey, look, no judgment here. Oh, that's awesome.
Well, you put me on the spot, and that's what you get.
I know. Hey, look, I'll run with that. I'd like to attend, actually.
Oh, great. Hey, come on down.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Lisa. Thank you very much for your time once again. And just off the cuff, so it's what's the date of the show? 24th of August, is that right?
No, so Sunday, 25th of August.
25th, sorry, my apologies. 25th of August, okay. 2024 will be the first of hopefully many OCB shows in Australia.
Yes.
Pretty damn exciting. So, yeah, thank you once again. I wish you all the best of luck with the promotion leading up to the show, and then obviously running of the show and the success of the show. And if you're an athlete out there that wants a different experience or a new experience or just another platform to showcase your hard work, then this could be the one for you for sure.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Paul. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. All right, have a great weekend, and I'll no doubt speak to you in some form or another very soon.
Yeah, great. Thank you. You too. Bye.
Yes, bye. Well, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Lisa once again for her time this morning. Obviously, she's got a lot on her plate promoting a show, but it's going to be very exciting to see OCB get off the ground and obviously provide athletes another opportunity to not only compete in Australia in a very heavily tested federation, but also provide a platform to compete overseas, which I think is something that most athletes that do competitive back-to-back seasons or multiple seasons aspire to do. So if you're interested in obviously finding out more about OCB, follow their page on Instagram, both the official and the Australian one. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please share it across your stories. Tag myself, Paul's Body Engineering, tag OCB Australia, tag OCB Official, and of course, tag Lisa Blackburn. But other than that, if you're interested in any of my coaching services, please jump on paulsbodyengineering.com or tap the link on my Instagram bio. But other than that, as I say to every client every single day, have a great day.